Sup, Dad?
Welcome to This Dad Reads, a bookish podcast spanning genres and fandoms. I'm your host, Jason, and on today's episode, me and my droid pal KC78 catch up on all things Star Wars. What is going on, my fandom friends? I hope everyone is doing well out there. Guys, I am back. I took a little bit of a break as the summer wrapped up and the fall season kind of got kicked off. Lots of just personal stuff going on with, kids starting school, the summer wrapping up. The schedule just got kind of really crazy towards the end of the summer there. August was honestly just a blur and so chaotic. I don't think I was the only one that felt that, but August was so wild. So it was just kind of in everyone's best interest for me to take a little pause on the podcast, kind of catch my breath, make sure I could kind of jump into this next season, just ready to go. Plus, I was gearing up to go on overseas trip. I recently spent some time in Greece, which was an epic trip and so much fun. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but so there's just a lot going on, right? So all in the midst of just trying to keep reading and trying to keep on top of media. So I'm glad I took that time, but I'm also glad to be back, and I am stoked to be just spending some quality time with my droid pal KC78. Casey, how have you been, my man? Yes, I know. I've missed you. I mean, we've been hanging out here and there, but really podcasting time is our quality time, right? So I'm really glad to just be spending some solo time just with me and you. And I'm really stoked that we can just spend some time together today and just sit and chat. I know. Yes, I'm bummed that I couldn't take you with me to Greece. I know that flight was really, really long, but it was probably for the best. Tickets are really expensive. Droids aren't really, looked upon as kind of good companions on flights, at least not yet. So I hope you had some good time to yourself, and I'm glad that we're reunited. I'm glad. Okay, yeah, man, I'd be happy to talk to you about a little bit about my trip. It was a volunteer trip and a volunteer kind of service trip that me and a couple friends went on, and really got to spend some good time just helping out a local church. We painted one of their buildings, and just really got to kind of dive in and connect with some of the local community members in a really small village that we stayed in. Got some really good home-cooked meals. Just really got to know these people and fall in love with them, honestly. I fell in love with this kind of small village life, just a quiet, different way of life. And the afternoon siestas that Greece observes. I know this isn't the only country that observes the kind of siesta hour. Man, am I missing that coming back to the States. That was awesome. So just fell in love with the country and the culture, and was able to do some exploring. I was in Athens for a time and got a tour of the Acropolis and the Parthenon. I was in Olympia. I got to walk around some of the old Olympic ruins. I was also in Corinth and got to just walk around some of those ancient sites, and it's just mind-blowing how much history and culture is embedded into just the life there. And you're walking around town, you look up and you just see some ancient ruins. It's wild. It's just totally different from anything that is in my world in the US. And it was definitely a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Made some friends and connections that I know will be just lifelong, and I'm already missing that place and those people. So super thankful that I was able to do that, and just want to give a shout out to all my Greece family. I love you guys. I know, Casey, I'm chomping at the bit too to catch up on Star Wars. So let's just take a quick break, and then we will jump into everything Star Wars. And we are back. I'm here with my boy KC78, and I think we should do a little kind of recap and catch up on all things that have been going on in the publishing world for Star Wars. So how does that sound to you? Awesome. Sounds good to me too, bud. So ever since my break, there's been a couple new books coming out. One of them is the Tales of Light and Life YA anthology from the High Republic, which I absolutely loved. it was kind of a look back on what happened in phase 1, kind of touched on phase 2, and then looked ahead to phase 3. So it's really this unique entry in the High Republic that kind of combines everything that we've gotten so far and kind of casts a vision and looks ahead to what is still to come. And so I've seen some people kind of chatting about like, oh, I'm almost done with phase 2. Can I read this book? Or I haven't finished phase 1. Should I read it before I read phase 2? And this is always the topic of conversation, right? Like, what is the reading order? When do I read which book? And I would for sure say that for right now, for what has been published, it is basically required to read phases 1 and 2 in, I guess, whatever order you want to read them in. I would say publication order, and then read Tales of Light and Life. Ideally, if you are listening to this episode past November of 2023, read this book before you read phase 3, because it's hinting at things and it will just be a lot more fulfilling and satisfying if you do so. We also recently got another anthology book. It is the From a Certain Point of View Return of the Jedi, celebrating the 40th anniversary of that book. A very big publication. There's 40 short stories, tons of offerings with 40 different authors. And if you're not familiar with these books, they kind of take side characters or background characters or small characters that you are seen in these movies, and they're short stories written from their point of view, and it's been a really unique series so far, and there's been a whole bunch of stories that I've enjoyed over the course of all of these books. I will say that I think this one is my least favorite of all 3 of them. I just didn't find myself super engaged with the book in its entirety. So there was definitely stories that I liked and that I enjoyed. And so you can check out my full review on thisdadreads.com from that book, but I will say this is one that I think in hindsight, it's probably enjoyed in smaller doses. So I would recommend, instead of trying to devour this book all at once and publish a review like I did, just take it one story at a time. Like maybe read one story a night, kind of plug this into some of your other regular readings. The thing that I enjoy about short stories is that it's like a small bite, but you get like a full story out of it. You know, I really enjoy that aspect, and you can kind of just sit down and enjoy a little bit of Star Wars and then kind of move on if you want. So I think from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi would be best enjoyed that way. Some of these stories are actually quite lengthy as well, so if you kind of go into it thinking like, oh, I'm going to read a whole bunch at once, it can kind of get overwhelming. So at least that was my perspective. So I enjoyed the book. I will probably revisit it again at some point. Maybe it was just kind of a headspace thing. And again, August was a weird month for me, guys. So, full transparency, maybe my headspace was just not right. But there were some stories I enjoyed. Overall, in hindsight, I wish that I could have taken it a little bit slower, so I'd recommend doing that as well. We also recently got another wave of the Essential Legends collection, which, if you're not familiar with those, it's a new paperback format with new cover art of Legends books from, history and time past. And so this time we got 4 of them. And I think this is the first time that multiple books from the same author were published. So we got Outbound Flight and Survivor's Quest. We also got 000 and Fatal Alliance. So I have read, as of this recording, 2 of them so far, and those reviews will be up now on tatooinetimes.com. I am still going through the rest of them, and so more to come on my thoughts on those. But again, I feel like these have been a mixed bag ever since they've been published, and this has been the way that I have chosen to kind of dive into Legends. So all of my reading in Star Wars, basically up to the point that I started, talking about books online and publishing reviews, all were just focused on canon. I felt like that was, at least for me and my brain and my time commitment, I wanted to focus on canon. And then I knew at some point I would dip my toe into Legends, because I know a lot of those are very well loved and some very classic stories and talented authors. And so I have chosen to let this Essential Legends collection be the way that I'm I'm letting basically the publisher tell me which books I should read in Legends. And so it's kind of an easy way to do that. Now, these usually catch me off guard, and they all come out, I forget that they're coming out, and then it's like, oh my gosh, 4 new books just came out, or 3 new books just came out. And so I'm in no way a completionist. I don't feel this urgent need to read every single Legends book, but I do, obviously, part of my kind of fun side hustle is reviewing books. So, and I'm thankful enough that I can kind of read these at my leisure. So, enjoying those so far. More to come on my thoughts on Survivor's Quest and 000 when the time comes. And I believe there's another wave coming out pretty soon. So, catch me when I'm not ready for those and scrambling to read and review those as well in the future. So, Casey, how about you? What have you enjoyed lately coming out from Star Wars books? I was wondering if you're going to mention that. So, in terms of comic books, at least on the Dark Horse side, the omnibus of the entire High Republic Adventures Phase 1 just came out recently, which I was so stoked that they collected all of that, finally, all together at once for the US folks. That is now on my shelf. So excited to have that. And recently as well, the Nameless Terror trade paperback just came out from the High Republic Phase 2, which was one of my absolute favorite mini-series and stories and mini arcs from that phase. So loved that comic book by George Mann, and the art by Eduardo Mayo was just top notch. I absolutely love that. So we've talked about what has been coming out recently in the Star Wars publishing world, but now let's look ahead to what is to come, because there's always something on the horizon. So the next book that is coming out is Crimson Climb by E.K. Johnston. So that is still one that is on my TBR. That one focuses on Kira and her involvement in Crimson Dawn. So I kind of don't really have any expectations for this book. So I'm kind of going in blind. So I will definitely keep you updated on my thoughts on that next month. And then we also have already in 2 months, the High Republic Phase 3 is kicking off with The Eye of Darkness by George Mann. And guys, this advanced copy just hit my inbox the other day, and so the fact that I have the newest entry into the High Republic just sitting on my Kindle and waiting to be read is kind of driving me crazy, because in terms of my reading schedule and timelines, I can't dive in yet. I just can't do it because I want to have it front of mind when it comes out. I want to be part of the conversation when it comes out. This has happened before where I read things ahead of time because I'm so excited, and then when the book comes out, people are asking me questions, and so excited, and it's gone from my mind already. So I want to wait a little bit, and I'm hoping to have George on the show again, so we can talk about The Eye of Darkness. So keep your ears peeled for that. I'm hoping to have him on and have that episode out very close to the release date of The Eye of Darkness, which is November 14th. I know, Casey, I want to talk about it too. We cannot talk Star Wars and not talk about the Ahsoka series on Disney+. So, yes, as of this recording, the episode where Thrawn finally made his appearance just came out, and that is what all of us Thrawn fans have been looking forward to since the show started. Do I think that he should have shown up earlier? Maybe. Am I very happy that it happened finally and that it's there, that he's made his live action debut? Yes, of course. Lars Mikkelsen is amazing. He was the person that we all knew was going to be perfect for this role. And I would say that episode and the one preceding it have been my favorite 2 episodes of Ahsoka so far. This show has been a little bit hit and miss for me. Taking into consideration all the things that I've said already, that I've had some crazy schedules, I was going out of the country, my brain has been in other places, but long story short, this Ahsoka series has been a mixed bag for me. I've enjoyed a lot of things about it. I really enjoy that it's basically Rebels in live action. I love Rebels. I'm a big Rebels fan, but I'm not as rabid as a Rebels fan as a lot of other people are. So, and Ahsoka is a character that I like well enough, but I Ahsoka's not my main Star Wars thing, and I know she is for a lot of people, so I definitely respect that. And I know that a lot of people are just losing their minds over this series, especially when Hayden Christensen came back as Anakin, which I definitely thought was cool. So I'm reserving my final thoughts until the series is over, because I really try not to jump to conclusions and jump to judgments, especially when we're kind of getting the slow drip of episodes. Having said that, all Star Wars is good Star Wars. That's still my motto. I'm still happy that we're getting new live action Star Wars stuff out in the world, and that fans of these characters are just losing their minds. I love seeing that, and I love seeing the reaction of people online. And so I'm always thankful when there's Star Wars media getting put out into the world that is just making people happy, bringing families together. I've heard numerous stories of people and their young children or their teenagers who grew up watching Clone Wars together are just, this is kind of their thing that they're doing now as a family, which just makes me so happy to hear. So any time that media or Star Wars can bring people together and make them have a little bit of joy and peace, like, I'm all for that. Casey, what else is on the horizon? What other Star Wars things are you excited about? Yes, the Dark Droid series from Marvel. That's been fun so far. You're excited to see where that's gonna go? Okay, I'm with you there. I'm a little bit behind. I gotta catch up on Dark Droids, but that's very on brand of you to be excited about something droids related. Good job. There is tons of more Star Wars stuff on the horizon and to wrap up 2023, but we will touch on those on future episodes for sure. We have plenty of time to do those things. Before I go for today, I definitely wanted to catch you guys up on what I'm reading, so let's jump into my last current next. So the last book I read was The Haunted Mansion, Storm and Shade by Claudia Gray. This was a Disney Books publication, and it is based on the Haunted Mansion ride from Disneyland to Disney World, and obviously the Haunted Mansion movie just came out. It has nothing to do with the movie, from what I understand. I haven't seen the movie, but it's a totally different set of characters. I don't think it's connected in any way. Please send me a comment or something on socials if I'm wrong about this. But it's a YA book, and it's about a young girl who moves to New Orleans and discovers the Haunted Mansion and makes some fast new friends and discovers some kind of dark and scary secrets about its inhabitants, and has to go on an epic mission to basically save her new ghost friends from being forever forgotten and leaving this world forever and ever, not even being able to be in the ghostly realm anymore. I'm a big fan of Claudia. She's been on the show before. We talked about this book on a previous episode, and it was really fun. It's definitely something that I think middle grade or younger readers would enjoy. It's kind of like, I don't even want to say horror. It's not horror light. It's just like a spooky, fun kind of coming of age story. There's some YA tropes that are kind of to be expected, and I think readers of this genre would appreciate things like mental health, relationships, dealing with family issues, and kind of trying to find your way and trying to find confidence in who you are and who you're becoming as a young adult. So The Haunted Mansion, Storm and Shade from Disney Books, that was what I read last, and my review for that is actually up on thisdadreads.com right now, so you can read my full review on that. What I'm currently reading is Survivor's Quest by Timothy Zahn. It's, like I said, one of the most recent releases from the Essential Legends collection. I've barely dipped my toe into that, so I don't have much to say yet, but I am excited to dive into another Legends Star Wars book, and there will be more to come on that for sure in a future episode on what I thought about it. And then the next book I'm going to read, shocker, is another Essential Legends collection book. It is 000 by Karen Travis, which is the second book of the Republic Commando series, which, if you're not familiar with that, it is kind of like, I don't want to say the Bad Batch because it's a little bit different, but it's a group of clone commandos called Omega Squad. And the first book in this series wasn't one of my favorites. It was definitely kind of in that war genre, and kind of war tactics and strategy that I don't always gravitate to or enjoy very much. But like all Star Wars, I try to keep an open mind, and I'm excited to see where this one goes. I don't really know what to expect, and as like I always do, I hope I haven't forgotten too much of what the other book was about when I dive in, but that will be the next book that I'm reading. Well, Casey, it has been an awesome time just getting to catch up and chat with you and just spend some good time with you, my man. It's always a good time spending time with you. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm glad to be back. I'm glad that we've got regular episodes again. And just as a note, I'm going back to doing monthly episodes. That's what's working for me in my life at this time. So appreciate everyone's support and patience with me as I kind of get back into the routine of things. And so as usual, if you want to connect with me, check me out on my socials on Instagram. I'm also on Threads and Twitter, so anywhere that you want to talk Star Wars books or just connect with someone, have a friend who you don't have anyone to geek or freak out with about Star Wars media, please hit me up. I'm always happy to have a conversation. My DMs are always open. I would love to have a chat. I have some really cool stuff planned for some future episodes coming up. I have some author interviews in the works, so please stick around. I really appreciate everyone's support. I will see you guys on the next episode, and take us out, Casey. Thank you so much for listening. For more of my content, visit my website at thisdadreads.com for full book reviews, interviews, and articles. Follow me on socials at thisdadreads on Twitter and Instagram. This Dad Reads, the podcast, is produced by Aravis Industries and me. Special thanks to my editor, Jeremy Tuttle, and to Coma-Media for the use of their song Bounce. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe on your podcast platform of choice and leave me a 5-star review. It really helps. Catch you next time.